How to create a game for Android devices, Part 5. In this part, we're going to configure Eclipse for C++. So, you need to download all the C++ plugins or software in Eclipse. So, open Eclipse and go to Help, Install New Software. From the drop menu, select your Eclipse version and wait for the options to load. Go to Programming Languages and install all the C++ software. And finally, restart Eclipse. Okay, so open Eclipse and go to Help, Install New Software. Now, from this drop-down menu, work with select your Eclipse version. In my case, it's the Indigo version. And then all these options are going to load, so scroll down up until where you see Programming Languages and open this option and go ahead and select all the C++ options that I am selecting. Go ahead and select all the ones that are grayed out. I already have them installed, so I'm not going to install them again. But you go ahead and select all of these and install them. So you need this one also, all the ones that are grayed out, install it. The Eclipse Java Development Tools, install this one. And install the Unified Parallel C Berkeley, C support, and C++ compiler support. So select all of those and click on Next and install everything. So once you install everything, go ahead and restart your Eclipse IDE. And now you're ready to import your Cocos2dx project into Eclipse and start building your game. So now that you already installed the C++ extensions for Eclipse, we're going to import the Cocos2dx project into Eclipse. So to do that, import the proj.android folder into Eclipse by selecting File, New, Other, Android project from existing code. After that, we need to convert the project into a C++ and Java project. And finally, we're going to configure some project properties such as the build command, the path and symbols, and the build variables. So let's start by importing the project into Eclipse. So I'm gonna go to Eclipse and I'm going to select File, New, Other, and then I'm going to select Android project from existing code. I click Next, and for my root directory, I browse to my projects, Games, Cocos2dx, and in Cocos2dx, I look for my project, Fly Game, and I'm going to import the proj.android folder. I click OK, and then I click on Finish. Now my project is imported into Eclipse. If I open my project, it's taking a while to build. And on the assets, remember that I included a background and a title. So they are here in my assets folder. The title, I'm going to double click to open the picture, and the background. So remember that if you want assets placed in this folder, you always need to place your assets in the resource and run the build native.sh file. Okay, so now we're ready to convert our project into a C++ project. Now, to convert your project into a C++ hybrid project, you're going to right-click on your project, select New, and select Other. Now, browse to the C++ folder and select Convert to a C++ project, Add C++ Nature, and click on Next. Select your project, select C++ project, and on the project type, select Make File Project and select Other Toolchain and click on Finish. This is going to ask you this. If you want to open this perspective, just click Yes. And now you have successfully converted your project into a hybrid C++. We need to configure some project properties. So let's start by right-clicking Properties, and let's go to C++ General, and we go to the Code Analysis. So we're going to use Project Settings, and we're going to uncheck all of these options. This is because the compiler gives us some errors that are not necessarily errors, so we need to compile without any problems, and we're going to click on Apply. We also need to modify another property. So after we are done with the code analysis, let's go to the build, and we need to modify the build command. Before doing that, we need to add a build variable. So let's click on build variable, and let's click on add. The type of the variable will be a directory, and the variable name, let's call it prog path directory, and then we need to choose the directory for our project. That will be inside the Cocos2d-x folder. So we browse, we search for our project, and we select the prod.android folder. Click OK, and we click OK. Now that we have the build variable added, we're going to modify the build. So for the use default build command, we're going to uncheck this, and we're going to type bash $, open curly braces, workspace, _lock, / our package com.flygame.carlos.mendoza. We close the curly braces, we place another $, we open the curly braces again, and we type our variable proj_path / build _native .sh ndk _debug equals 1 space v equals 1. So we click apply, and we just modified our build command. We also need to configure the path and symbol. So on the includes, we need to include two directories. So we're going to go ahead and click add, file system, and we're going to navigate to our project folder. So games, and inside the Android NDK R8, we're going to go to platforms, Android 9, Aargh, ARM, and include, and we're going to select the include folder. Okay, hit OK, and we also need to include the Cocos2d-x include folder. So file system, again browse to our project, to the Cocos2d-x folder this time, Cocos2d-x, and inside we have another Cocos2d-x folder. We're going to open that, and we're going to select the include folder. Click OK, and we click OK. And now under source location, we need to include the classes. So we're going to link folder, select link to folder in the file system, and we search for our classes. So we click on browse and we navigate to the Cocos2dx folder again. We navigate to our project and we select the classes folder. And we click OK. And we go ahead and click OK and we click apply. It's going to ask you if you want to rebuild our project again, and yeah, we click yes. So that's it for the configuration. So we click OK, and at this point we should be able to run our project and run a Hello World Cocos2dx project. Now we're ready to run our first Hello World Cocos2dx project. Normally I run my applications and games on a real device. It is best if you use a real device to test your project, but for this tutorial I'm going to do that in an emulator. So I'm going to right click, run as, run configurations. I'm going to select Android application, new launch configuration, target, and I'm going to select always prompt to pick device so I can select my emulator. Project, pick the fly game. I'm going to save the changes. Sometimes Eclipse gives you an error, but don't worry about it. This is just a run configuration. I'm going to delete another one that I had here. So I'm only left with one run configuration for the fly game and the target, always prompt to pick device. And then we're going to click on run. The emulator is going to take a while. The Android emulator is very slow. If you don't know how to set up a new emulator, you should look for a YouTube video or another tutorial where they show you how to set up an Android emulator. Normally, if you have a device connected, it will appear here, and it will be better if you have a device connected to test your game. So I'm going to launch a new Android virtual device. I'm going to select the one that I already have, and I'm gonna click OK. And now we need to wait for the emulator to run. So I'm going to be back in a while. So I couldn't get the emulator to run the Hello World for Cocos2dx, but I could get my actual device to run it. So I'm showing it to you right now. This is my actual device running our first Cocos2dx Hello World program. You can either look up on Google how to run it in the emulator or try to get a real device. My advice to you is to get a real device, because on a real device you can test a lot of functionalities that you can test in the emulator. So up to this point, if you have been following all of my videos, you should be running a Hello World Cocos2dx on your real device. And now we're ready to create our game.